What's up YouTube, this is DWS Darius and this is going to be another episode of Amazing Fish. And this week's amazing fish, the red Fin Borleyi Cichlid. Okay YouTube, so today's amazing fish comes from my 125 gallon African cichlid tank, and it is none other than my red Fin Borleyi Cichlid. Now right here is my male, who is just definitely a beautiful fish. When you zoom out a little bit, you can see that his colors definitely stick out. And here's a little side-by-side view of the male and a female. You can see that there's just a huge difference when it comes to coloration. Now, like most African cichlids, the males are the ones who shows the majority of the color, while the females are a lot more dull and just plain. Now, here's a side-by-side comparison, and you can see just that huge difference. Now, that female coloration is the coloration of all juveniles, both male and female, and eventually as the males mature, they'll start to produce that reddish to burgundy color on the side. So this is the reason why this fish is amazing to me, just that outstanding color. Now, as I said before, if we take a step back, that fish is definitely noticeable, and just the more dominant he becomes, the brighter that red becomes. Currently mine isn't even that much dominant. However, the more he grows, as you can see, there's a few more fish a lot bigger than him, so he's a few specks down. But this fish is a really fast growing fish, so I can predict that by the end of this year he'll definitely have a bigger place in the hierarchy, and he'll definitely show a lot more color. Okay, so another thing that I love about these fish is that not only do they show beautiful color, they also reach a decent size at about 8 inches. They'll be about 8 inches long at full size, the males, and about maybe 4 inches tall. So that's definitely a decent sized fish, especially when you have them in a nice community. So definitely a great display fish. Okay, so when it comes to care for the red Fin Borleyi Cichlid, I think I would rate these fish as an intermediate level fish to care for. In my opinion, they're not really a beginner fish, and at the same time, you don't need to be an expert to take care of these fish. And the reason why I think that these fish aren't for the beginners, because like all African cichlids, these fish are very aggressive, and as a beginner, I think you really don't need that aggression. It can be really discouraging to come home finding your fish dead, to find them beaten up. It's just really discouraging when you first start off into fish keeping. So I think that when keeping all African cichlids, you definitely want to have some fish keeping experience before you come to these guys. Okay, so these fish are aggressive. However, to every problem there's a solution. So there are ways to prevent or to lower that aggression. Now, one of the things that people have started to do is when they stock their African cichlids tanks, they try to limit fish that look similar. Now, I know that when it comes to keeping African cichlids, you definitely come across a lot of species that look pretty similar. In fact, most haps and peacocks are pretty much shaped the same, which could be a problem. However, if possible, try to stay away from those colors that look pretty much identical. Like with this with this, I wouldn't mix a German red, or I wouldn't mix maybe a red empress, because they look pretty similar. Now, I know that when you want to keep African cichlids, there's just so many different types, and you really don't want it to be limited. So another thing that you can do is just make sure when you keep your fish, you have a decent quantity of fish. Now, having a good number of fish is a good method of lowering aggression, because it just helps spread the aggression. If you have a few fish, those few fish are going to release their anger all on each other. If you have a lot of fish, they have a lot more fish to focus on, a lot more fish to spread that aggression. Okay, so a little bit more about the red Fin Borleyi Cichlid. These fish prefer higher pH like all African cichlids. I keep my pH at around 7.8. As far as the temperature, they prefer warmer waters. I keep mine from around 78 to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. When it comes to feeding these fish in particular are carnivorous fish. However, if you look at my tank, I have haps, peacocks, which are carnivorous, and I have Mabuna and trophies, which are algae eaters, and I really don't want to feed the meaty foods to them, so I just pretty much base my diet on algae food, and it really doesn't, the red Fin Borleyi pretty much accepts it. However, if you was to keep a more all hap and peacock tank, you could definitely give them more meatier foods. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you guys about for the red Fin Borleyi Cichlid is just the tank size. Now, as I said before, these fish can reach about 8 inches, so you definitely want to give them space and room to grow. And I would recommend the smallest tank size to maybe be a 90-gallon tank, but you know, bigger is always better. So this has been a look at the red fin Borleyi cichlid. As always, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time to just stop by. As always, if you want to find any more African cichlids or any other amazing fish, check out my amazing fish playlist, now having over 30 episodes with both freshwater and marine fish. Once again, thank you all for watching. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And that will be all.